Hello there. I will be teaching you guys how to write this code line by line, or more like block by block. And to this code is to run this web server basically. Let me connect to it. Yeah. So the this code will create this web server that your ESP hosts, and it will tell you the state of a button that you're pressing, and you can trigger an LED on and off as shown in the video. The code is fairly simple. It uses only two libraries and web server library. This library, we can write a code for a web server without this library, but this just makes our life a lot simpler. Uh, the web page itself is purely HTML. I don't use JavaScript or any other scripting languages. Yeah, I'll start it. First of all, I'm gonna connect my LED to pin number GPIO pin 21, and I'm gonna define it here as output. So now my pin number is output. After this, I'm gonna include the two libraries, and I'll create a web server object called server and give it an argument of 80. This basically means is that I'm starting a server on port 80. Port 80 is mostly used for HTTP requests, and that's why we are using this port. Yeah, so after creating the object, we will start our Wi-Fi servers. And the SSID and the password is the SSID is the name of the network that our ESP is hosting, and the password is its password, and we can predefine it like so. These two are just two variables that I am predefining here. So this is what it will show up as when you open your Wi-Fi and you type in this password. Now I'm gonna want to find out the IP address that I need to connect to access the server. For that, I'll first open the serial port. Okay, so this command basically returns the IP address of your web page, and on that IP address we will begin. Let's begin our server. So server dot begin is the command you use for that. Okay, and finally we are gonna add this line, which will be our only line in the loop function. What this does is it continuously checks for HTTP requests that our web page, our laptop is making, and it processes them. Okay, so now that our host and client are connected through that IP address, our client just connected to the IP address, and we have the IP address open on our web page. We need the ESP32 to send the web page a text file, a HTML file back to the client for it to display on the browser. So for that, I'm gonna write a function called handle root, and in the function, I'm gonna send the web page string to the server. Okay, so for now, our web page itself will be empty. We are not sending any web page. We're just sending an empty string which will display nothing on our browser. So now to create a route for this function, I'm gonna use this use the function server dot on and create type its URL that I want and call the function. I'll upload it onto my ESP module. Okay, so it's on my ESP module and my laptop is connected to the ESP access point that shows up. I press the reset switch and your IP address will show up and the ESP is hosting it's hosting an access point. Now I go to my web browser and I go to the IP address. It's gonna show me a blank page. This is the web page that we are sending from the host to the client, which is just nothing. The HTML string has nothing on it for now. Yeah. For now, we will create the web page later. We'll look into how to turn the LED on. So to turn the LED on, I'm gonna create another function called handle LED on, and I'm gonna set pin 21 to high. So whenever this function is called, pin 21 is gonna be high, which will turn our LED on. Um, and we're gonna send the server an LED on text. So this line sends the server a text called LED on, and now we are gonna create another, what do you say, another pathway for the to call this function, which is gonna be a different URL. So server, when we go to slash LED slash on, we're gonna execute this function. And if I repeat that for LED off, yeah, I've written the same line for LED off. I'll show you guys what this does, and I'm gonna upload this code. Okay, now I've uploaded this much code onto my ESP. So what I'm gonna do is connect to the web page that my ESP has created. First, connect to its access point. After connecting to its access point, I can connect to that IP, and I go to slash LED slash on, and that is gonna turn my LED on. You can't see it right now. I'll show a video of it. That turns my LED on, and if I go to slash LED slash off, that turns my LED off. So what is basically happening is when you uh, when you give the when you give the host this URL, it is going server.on is going to execute this function. You give the host an slash LED slash on URL, and the code is going to execute handle LED on function, which will set 21 to high, and it will return the server a message. That is one more thing, you should always return the server some message. The first one is the HTTP code that you're returning. The second argument is what type of message you're returning, and the third argument is the message itself. Okay, so now that that is done, it's not exactly done. I am gonna connect a button to my ESP, and I'm gonna show print the I'm gonna show the value of the button on my web page. So I'll first define up the pin on which I'm connecting my button to. I've connected it to pin number 19, and I'm setting it to a pull down resistor, which basically means that when the button is not pressed, we are not reading random values, we are reading zero. And I'm going to create another function called void handle button state. which is gonna first read the button state onto a boolean. And next, because we can't send a boolean value to our HTML page, in HTML you're sending around strings instead of integers or other data types. So we're going to convert this into a boolean value depending on if it's high or low. And now we're going to send this button state variable. After sending this, we need to add a pathway for this. So we need to add a pathway for this function. So we're going to add a URL for the button as well. Yeah. So there's a simple way to send an input to the web page. I'll upload this code and I'll demonstrate it to you. Okay, so now my code has uploaded onto my ESP. If I reset my ESP, the IP address is going to show. I'll connect to the ESP's access point. And if I reload the page, we can see our title here and the header over here. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a meta tag to it. If when we add a meta tag and set this content equal to 1, it's going to refresh every 1 second. So we'll keep that for now. Okay, so here is a demonstration for the LED. I have connected my Wi-Fi, my laptop to the access point, and now I go to /LED /off on. And once I go to that web page, I get a message back that the LED is on and my LED turns on. Now if I go to /LED /off, you can see the LED turning off. So I go to on, the LED turns on, and I go to off and the LED turns off, and I go to the button URL. So when I go to the button state URL, it shows low, and regardless of if I press the button or not, it keeps saying low, because I need to update the page in order for it to read a different value. So now I'm pressing the button. Now I'm pressing the button, and I needed to update the page for it to change values. Okay, so as you saw in the recording, I had to refresh the page on my own to read a different value, uh, to update the input. So what we are gonna do is we will create a we'll finally create the web page and have it update every 1 second for it every 1 second, so that we don't have to do it ourselves. Okay, this is the HTML code, the HTML that we will be sending from our host to our client, so that the client can display it on its browser. Very basic. It's a basic HTML code that has a title and a single body. And if I'll define this web page as a string, or a character type. Basically, what handle root was when we visited this web page. So the IP address plus the slash, it would send our client the HTML file for our web to display our web page. So we're gonna replace that with the variable we have for our HTML file, and we'll upload that code to our ESP. After that, we'll add some more code to display what our button state, and it will keep refreshing every 1 second. So for now, I'll upload this onto my ESP, and I'll show you guys what the web page does now. Okay, so that code is uploaded, and if I refresh my web server now, it shows me the button state, and it is refreshing every 1 second. And when I press my button state, it refreshes the page and shows me the new button value. Okay, so now that this is done, I still have to go to a different web page to access my LED. So LED slash on. I still have to go to this web page to turn my LED on and off. So what we can do now is we can go to the home page and add two buttons which will go to that web page and refresh to turn our LED on and off. And for that we will add two button tags with one for turning the LED on and off. So going back to our code, in the body we'll just add two buttons. This is basically the code for adding the button. So what this code basically does is when we submit a value on the button, it goes to this link, and we are going to modify our handle LED functions such that when we go to that link, it's going to send us back to the in a home page. So what this line does it basically sends the client to this location, so this URL that we use for that, and then server.send 303 refreshes the page. We do the same for LED off, and we upload the code. So now when I upload my code, connect to the access point, and go to the IP address, I get this page. When I press LED on, my LED turns on. When I press LED off, LED turns off, and I can press my button and it will update the button state.